High Admiral Vexthor's crystalline appendages shimmered with barely contained amusement as he studied the human standing before the Valaxian Science Council. Zara Patel, Earth's leading quantum physicist, maintained perfect composure despite the whispers and chittering echoing through the vast chamber. "You propose to revolutionize faster-than-light travel?" Vexthor's translator rendered his clicks and whistles into standard Galactic. "With this?" The holographic display showed her equations floating in crisp blue light. "The mathematics are sound," Zara replied, her voice steady. "The quantum resonance drive would reduce travel time between systems by 70%. The crystalline being's colors shifted to deep purple, their equivalent of laughter. Vexthor raised a glittering appendage, and the chamber fell silent. "Your species mastered space flight barely 2 centuries ago. You still use silicon-based computing. And now you presume to lecture the Valaxian Empire on quantum mechanics." Zara's dark eyes remained fixed on the Admiral. "The principles are valid regardless of who presents them." "Principles?" Vexthor glided closer, towering over her. "Let us examine these principles." His appendage traced through her equations, marking them with harsh red lines. "Here, a fundamental misunderstanding of quantum entanglement. Here, a complete disregard for the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. And this?" He highlighted an entire section. "Pure fantasy." The council chamber erupted in crystalline laughter again. Zara didn't flinch. "Perhaps," Vexthor continued, "you should focus on perfecting your current technology before attempting to play with concepts beyond your comprehension. The council thanks you for this entertaining presentation." Zara gathered her data tablets with deliberate care. "Thank you for your time, Admiral." She paused at the chamber's entrance. "Though I wonder, when you're so certain of what's impossible, do you ever stop to question your own limitations?" The Admiral's crystalline form flashed dangerous red. "Is that a threat, human?" "No, Admiral." A slight smile curved her lips. "It's an observation." That evening, in the diplomatic quarter of New Delhi, Zara sat in her lab as rain drummed against the windows. Her colleague, Dr. James Richardson, paced furiously. "Those arrogant shards of glass," he fumed. "They didn't even consider the possibilities. 20 years of research, dismissed in minutes." "They showed us exactly what we needed to see," Zara replied, fingers dancing across her holographic interface. "What?" "Their contempt. Their blindness." She pulled up new equations, ones she hadn't shown the council. "They're so convinced of their superiority, they can't imagine being wrong. That makes them vulnerable." "Vulnerable to what?" "They're centuries ahead of us in nearly every field." Zara's smile grew sharper. "Nearly every field. But they've had no real competition for so long, they've stopped innovating. They've settled for refinements of old ideas instead of pursuing true breakthroughs." She gestured at her real work, the equations hidden beneath the simplified version she'd presented. "They rejected our proposal not because it was wrong, but because it didn't fit their preconceptions." James studied the complex mathematics with widening eyes. This is way beyond what you showed them. The quantum tunneling calculations alone are completely valid," Zara finished. "But they'll never see it coming because they've already decided what's possible and what isn't." She stood, determination hardening her features. "Humanity's greatest advantage isn't our technology, James. It's our refusal to accept limitations." "What are you suggesting?" "I'm suggesting we show them exactly what happens when you back humans into a corner." She pulled up Project Phoenix's classified files. "The council just gave us everything we need, confirmation that they won't see us coming until it's too late." As thunder rolled outside, Zara began laying out her plan. The Valaxians had meant to put humanity in its place. Instead, they'd inadvertently created their own worst nightmare, a brilliant human engineer with something to prove, and nothing left to lose. In the months that followed, as Earth seemingly withdrew from galactic affairs to reconsider its position in the cosmic community, hidden factories began production. Research facilities buried deep beneath mountain ranges hummed with power as new technologies took shape. And in her lab, Zara Patel worked, her dismissed equations evolving into something that would shake the foundations of physics itself. The Valaxian Empire had made a crucial mistake. They hadn't just insulted a human scientist, they had challenged human ingenuity itself. And now, in labs and workshops across Earth, that challenge was being answered in ways they couldn't possibly imagine. The warning shot had been fired. The only question was whether the Valaxians would realize their mistake before it was too late. The Valaxian observation post near Jupiter reported nothing unusual about Earth's activities in the 18 months following the Science Council incident. Humans continued their primitive space commerce, their ships lumbering through conventional FTL corridors like cargo beetles. Trade declined by 30%, but the Empire's analysts attributed this to wounded pride. How wrong they were. Deep beneath the Himalayan mountains, in a facility that officially didn't exist, Zara Patel stood before the world's combined military leadership. The chamber hummed with tension as she activated the holographic display. Project Phoenix is ready for field testing, she announced, her voice echoing off steel walls. The prototype exceeds our initial projections. Admiral Hassan leaned forward, his weathered face illuminated by the swirling equations. You're certain it works? We've successfully tested it on unmanned vessels up to destroyer size, Zara replied. The quantum field maintains stability even under combat conditions. General Zhang studied the technical readouts. And the Valaxians can't detect it? They're not even looking for it. A hint of satisfaction colored Zara's voice. Their quantum detection systems are based on principles they consider immutable. We're operating outside their theoretical framework. The prototype ship floated in the hologram, sleek, deadly, and impossible by every standard the Valaxians held dear. Its hull incorporated quantum-entangled materials that could shift between states of matter. Its drive system exploited principles the Empire had dismissed as fantasy. What about the power requirements? Admiral Hassan asked. Their analysts claimed this level of quantum manipulation would drain a star. That's because they're trying to force quantum effects to conform to their understanding of physics. Zara manipulated the display, revealing the ship's core. We're not fighting quantum uncertainty, we're embracing it. The power system exists in a superposition state, simultaneously active and dormant until observed. They literally cannot detect what they refuse to believe possible. General Zhang's eyes narrowed. How many ships can we outfit with this technology? We've retrofitted 20 vessels so far. Full production begins next month. Zara pulled up the deployment schedule. By their next formal inspection of Earth's military capabilities, we'll have a fleet of 100. And if they discover what we're building? They won't. Dr. James Richardson stepped forward from the shadows. We're hiding in plain sight. Every time their sensors sweep our facilities, they see exactly what they expect to see, a primitive species nursing its wounded pride. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity wasn't just catching up to Valaxian technology, they were leapfrogging it entirely. There's something else, Zara added, her expression grave. We've detected unusual activity in their quantum communication networks. They're planning something big, something that involves Earth. Admiral Hassan's jaw tightened. Hostile. Uncertain. But their quantum packets are carrying more encryption than usual. Whatever it is, they don't want us to know about it. How long until the fleet is combat ready? 6 months. Zara's fingers danced across the controls, bringing up combat simulations. But we need to move carefully. The moment we reveal what we've achieved, everything changes. There's no going back. They forced this, General Zhang said quietly. Their arrogance, their dismissal of human potential, they brought us to this point. No, Zara corrected. They showed us what we're capable of. Sometimes the greatest breakthroughs come from being told something's impossible. As the military leaders debated strategy, Zara watched the prototype ship rotating in the hologram. The Valaxians had meant to put humanity in its place, but they'd inadvertently sparked a technological revolution. Every scientist, engineer, and theorist who'd ever been dismissed by the Empire had joined the project, their combined genius focused on one goal, proving that human innovation couldn't be contained by alien limitations. In orbit, visible only to those who knew exactly where to look, the first ships of humanity's new fleet waited in quantum superposition, simultaneously present and absent. Soon, the Empire would learn a harsh lesson about underestimating human determination. But for now, in hidden bases across the planet, the silent revolution continued. The storm was coming. And when it broke, the galaxy would never be the same. The demonstration. The Valaxian battle fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system, their crystalline ships refracting sunlight in dazzling patterns. High Admiral Vexthor stood on the command deck of the flagship, Eternal Truth, satisfaction rippling through his crystalline form. "Begin the compliance inspection," he ordered. "Show these humans how a proper military force conducts itself." Across Earth's orbital installations, alarms blared. The Valaxian fleet was massive, 50 capital ships, 200 escorts, a show of force meant to remind humanity of its place in the galactic hierarchy. In her command center beneath the Himalayas, Zara Patel watched the tactical display with cold composure. "They're right on schedule," she noted. "Time to show them what impossible looks like." Admiral Hassan's voice crackled through the quantum-encrypted channel. "All ships, execute Operation Paradigm. Remember your training." The Valaxian sensors swept Earth's orbital space, finding exactly what they expected, a scattered collection of primitive defense platforms and conventional warships. Vexthor's colors shifted to smug purple. "Such limited capabilities," he mused. "Perhaps we should demonstrate our new planetary defense grid. Show them what real protection looks like." "Admiral," his sensor officer called out, crystalline form flickering with confusion. "We're detecting some unusual quantum fluctuations." "Probably their crude attempts at scanning us," Vexthor dismissed. "Their technology is barely worth dash." The space around his fleet suddenly writhed. Where there had been empty void, 20 Earth ships simply existed. Not dropping out of hyperspace, not decloaking, they simply became present, as if they had always been there. "Impossible." Vexthor's form flashed crimson. "All ships, battle stations." But before his fleet could react, the Earth ships performed their second, impossible, feat. They moved without moving, simultaneously appearing at multiple points around the Valaxian formation. The Empire's quantum sensors crashed, unable to process vessels that existed in superposition. "This is Admiral Hassan of the Earth Defense Force," a transmission cut through all frequencies. "We'd like to demonstrate some improvements we've made to our primitive technology." The Earth ships opened fire. But instead of conventional weapons, they launched quantum-phased projectiles, missiles that existed in multiple states until impact, impossible to track or intercept. Shields rated to withstand supernovae flickered and failed as the laws of physics themselves seemed to bend around the human weapons. "How?" Vexthor demanded, his crystalline form vibrating with fury. "Your species cannot possess this technology. The power requirements alone dash." "Ah yes, the power requirements." Zara's voice joined the transmission, cool and precise. "Perhaps you'd like to review my equations again, Admiral. The ones you so thoroughly dismissed." 3 Valaxian heavy cruisers simply ceased to exist, their quantum structure disrupted at the fundamental level. Not destroyed, simply shifted to a state of probability rather than certainty. "You see, Admiral," Zara continued, "when you told us our theories were impossible, you gave us something invaluable, freedom from conventional thinking. You were so certain of what couldn't be done, you never imagined someone might prove you wrong. The Valaxian fleet scattered, their perfect formation dissolving into chaos as Earth ships appeared and disappeared around them, striking from quantum states their sensors couldn't even detect. "This is a warning," Admiral Hassan declared. "Earth is no longer content to play by your rules. We've developed our own. Leave our space immediately, or we'll demonstrate exactly how many other impossible things we've achieved." Vexthor stared at the tactical display in disbelief. Half his fleet sensors were blind, their quantum-based systems overwhelmed by paradox. The humans weren't just fighting them, they were rewriting the laws of warfare itself. "Full retreat," he ordered, his crystalline voice cracking. "Get us out of this system." As the Valaxian fleet fled in disarray, Zara watched from her command center, a cold smile playing on her lips. "Send the data package to their science council," she instructed. "Let them see exactly what they missed when they chose to dismiss us." The message would be clear: humanity had not only mastered quantum mechanics, they had transcended it. And this was just the beginning. In the aftermath of the battle, as Earth's quantum ships resumed their probability states, the galaxy held its breath. The impossible had become possible, the unthinkable achieved. And in the halls of the Valaxian Empire, a terrible realization began to dawn: they hadn't been containing a primitive species. They had been incubating a revolution. Empire's Gambit. "They're attempting to replicate our technology," James Richardson announced, projecting infiltration data across the quantum-secure briefing room. 3 research facilities in the Proxima system, working around the clock. Zara studied the intelligence reports with narrowed eyes. The Valaxian Empire had spent the last month in apparent retreat, their fleets withdrawn to defensive positions. But beneath the facade of diplomatic courtesy, they were scrambling. "They still don't understand," she noted. "Look at their approach. They're trying to force quantum superposition through brute computational power. They're fighting physics instead of working with it." Admiral Hassan frowned at the tactical overlay. "Can they succeed?" "Not with their current paradigm," Zara replied. "But that's not what concerns me." She highlighted a series of encrypted transmissions. "Their desperation is making them dangerous. They're planning something." She was right. That night, quantum alarms screamed across Earth's defense grid. A Valaxian stealth team had penetrated the Himalayan facility's outer security. They weren't trying to destroy the technology, they were trying to steal it. The infiltrators moved with crystalline precision, their forms shifted to near invisibility. They made it within 50 meters of the quantum core before discovering Zara's trap. "Interesting design," she said, stepping from the shadows as quantum fields materialized around the intruders, freezing them in probability stasis. "But you're still thinking in linear terms." High Commander Ixel's crystalline form flickered with rage. "You violate the natural order," he spat. "This technology cannot exist." "Cannot?" Zara's smile was sharp. "Or should not. Your empire has grown so convinced of its own superiority that you've forgotten how to innovate. You don't create anymore, you just refine what you already know. We are the masters of quantum science." Ixel's form pulsed with indignation. 10,000 years of knowledge dash. "Of knowledge that fits your preconceptions," Zara cut him off. "When was the last time your species truly discovered something new? Something that challenged your fundamental understanding of reality?" The quantum fields tightened as security teams surrounded the infiltrators. But Zara wasn't finished. She projected her original equations, the ones Vexthor had dismissed, alongside the current, evolved versions. "You could have been part of this breakthrough," she told the captured commander. "We tried to share our discoveries. Instead, you chose mockery, and then theft." She nodded to the security team. "Send them back to their empire. Along with the data package from their failed attempt." As the Valaxians were led away, James approached. "They'll try again," he warned. "Their entire power structure is built on technological superiority. They can't accept being surpassed." I'm counting on it, Zara replied. Every failed attempt teaches them the same lesson: the universe is bigger than their understanding of it. The question is whether they'll learn before they destroy themselves trying to prove us wrong. Across the galaxy, the balance of power was shifting. Other species, long suppressed by Valaxian technological dominance, watched with growing interest. Humanity hadn't just developed new technology, they'd demonstrated that the impossible was merely the undiscovered. In their crystal cities, the Valaxian leadership faced a crisis. Their weapons were inadequate, their defenses obsolete. Human ships could appear anywhere, ignore their strongest shields, and vanish before retaliation. Worse, their own people were beginning to question 10 millennia of scientific doctrine. The Empire faced a choice: adapt or escalate. And as Zara's predictions indicated, they were choosing the latter. Deep in their secured facilities, they were preparing one final gambit, a desperate attempt to reassert their dominance, no matter the cost. The storm that had been building was about to break. And its consequences would reshape the galaxy forever. The Valaxian Empire's final gambit began with a quantum pulse that rippled across 3 sectors of space. Their scientists had reverse-engineered fragments of human technology, combining it with their own vast energy resources in a desperate bid for supremacy. They're trying to force a quantum state collapse across an entire region of space, Zara announced, watching the wave of distortion approach Earth. They think they can disable our technology by collapsing all quantum superpositions within range. Admiral Hassan studied the tactical displays. Can they succeed? They don't understand what they're doing, Zara replied, her fingers dancing across quantum-encrypted controls. They've created a quantum cascade effect without proper containment. If it continues, it'll tear apart the fabric of spacetime itself. The Earth fleet materialized around the solar system's edge, their quantum drives humming with carefully controlled power. Zara had predicted this: the Empire's desperate attempt to prove their superiority would lead them to catastrophe. All ships, execute Protocol Omega, she commanded. Remember your training. We're not just fighting the Empire now, we're trying to save them from themselves. The human fleet engaged their quantum drives in perfect synchronization, creating a complex interference pattern in the fabric of reality itself. Where Valaxian brute force sought to collapse quantum states, human precision wove them together, creating a stable matrix of probability. In the Empire's command center, High Admiral Vexthor watched in horror as his ultimate weapon began to backfire. More power, he demanded, his crystalline form pulsing with desperate energy. We cannot allow these primitives to dash. Admiral, Zara's voice cut through all frequencies. Your weapon is destabilizing. The quantum cascade will reach critical threshold in 10 minutes. Let us help you shut it down, or you'll destroy everything you're trying to protect. Never. Vexthor's form flashed crimson. We are the masters of quantum science. We will not be surpassed by Dash. The space around his fleet began to fracture as reality itself rebelled against their crude manipulations. Human ships danced through the chaos, their superior understanding of quantum mechanics allowing them to navigate the breaking points between possibilities. Now. Zara commanded. The Earth fleet executed a maneuver that should have been impossible. All 100 ships synchronized their quantum states, creating a stable bubble of probability around the Valaxian weapon. Inside that bubble, they could safely contain the cascade effect. Watch closely, Zara transmitted to the Empire's scientists. This is what happens when you work with quantum mechanics instead of trying to force it into your preconceptions. The human fleet's quantum fields pulsed in harmony, gradually bringing the cascade under control. Where Valaxian technology tried to collapse quantum states, human innovation preserved them, weaving them into a new and stable configuration. As the crisis subsided, silence fell across all channels. The Empire's greatest weapon had been neutralized not through superior firepower, but through superior understanding. Their unquestioned dominance of quantum science lay in ruins. Your empire stands at a crossroads, Zara addressed the Valaxian leadership. You can cling to your outdated certainties and watch your power crumble, or you can accept that the universe is larger than your understanding of it. The choice is yours. In the aftermath, as the quantum disturbances settled, the galaxy's balance of power shifted irreversibly. The Empire's technological supremacy was broken, not by force of arms, but by human ingenuity. Other species began approaching Earth for scientific exchange, eager to learn from those who had proven that impossible was merely a temporary state of understanding. Zara stood in her lab one final time, looking at the equations that had started it all. The Empire had meant to teach humanity its place in the cosmos. Instead, they had learned a crucial lesson: true innovation comes not from certainty, but from the willingness to question it. The age of Valaxian dominance was over. A new era of discovery had begun, led by those who dared to ask not what was impossible, but what might be possible if you just refused to accept limitations.